Hey guys, it's Julian, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make driving, hard-hitting techno like Metodi Hristov. As usual, you get the project file and samples and MIDI and presets. All that stuff in this video is available right at the top of the description on my Bandcamp for just $5. And if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there because it's already available. And yeah, let's dive in. So this is the loop that you heard in the intro. The first sound we have here is the bass, which sounds like this. So this is that very popular sort of like just driving style of bass line like you hear in a lot of Metodi Hristov tracks. The way this is made is essentially you can see just using two layers. We have the sort of like main block, and then we have a sub bass. And so the MIDI that these guys are playing is really simple. It's literally just one note. It's just do 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 do, and then just that little do 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 on every four. But yeah, pretty simple bass line, you know. This is really just more about the idea behind this. Like with this style of bass, you know, this is how you get that really driving feel. It's just having one note just do 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 do, just chugging along like that. And yeah, so for the first layer, it sounds like this. And this is made using operator. The way we made this is just using two sine waves here. You can see they're both just at the 0.5 setting, so just at the same octave. Just got the envelope set like this, so just kind of like a plucky sort of FM bass. You can see what the envelopes do for making it plucky. And yeah, and then we just have a bit of pitch envelope on here to make it hit a little bit more. A bit of saturation to make it fatter, and then I have this EQ8 just cutting out the low end to make room for the sub, because this bass, like if I turn this off, it doesn't have as good a bass as we can get just using a sub. So I just cut that out, and now we just use this for the mid-range. And yeah, so then for the sub, it sounds like this. And so this is also just made using operator. This is literally just a square wave going into a low pass filter. So here's without the filter. And then with it, a little bit of an envelope on that as well. You can see it's only at 8%. It just gives it a little bit more of a pluck. And then we have the saturator, just to beef it up, as you can hear. And yeah, the main thing to keep in mind here is that this bass is pretty much at like the lowest octave it could go to. Like if we put it down there, or even lower, it's not really going to work. But then this bass is actually a bit higher because this track is in C, which is a little bit of a wonky sort of key for basses sometimes, as you can hear. But it works really well here because we basically have this long, like, sort of just very powerful bass note. And then we still get that, like, deep low sound with the FM bass. Yeah, and then on the group here, I've got these grouped together to kind of make it sound like one bass. You know, when you process them as one, it's really the best way to make everything just kind of sound like one bass. So here's with no processing. And then with processing. So you can hear why we do this. It really fattens the sounds up and kind of just makes them fit into the mix a bit better. So the first thing here is just a bit of saturation. Here's without this. And then with it. So it makes these a bit crunchy, which is fine. Like, you know, I think that sounds good. That does give it a very powerful and driving mix. But basically, this is just gluing these two together. Whenever you put multiple things into saturation like this, it's going to make them all kind of just glued together and sound more like one thing, which is great with this when you're trying to take two layers and make them sound like one bass. After that, we have a compressor, just sidechaining this to the kick. You can hear how that kick and bass play together. It's important to really get that mix to work with this style of stuff. Like, if you're going to make techno and just use a kick like this, and then have a bass line, you really have to make sure that they sound fat together. And this really helps because it allows you to get the kick, but then still get the full bass line as well. Because it's ducking out of the way when the kick plays, and then you still get that full loud bass when it's not. And then the last thing on here is just a bit of EQ, which is just cutting at 100 Hz. This just helps to mix it with the kick. Here's without this. And then with it, it's just because the kick is mostly hitting around that range. So you can hear the clashing without this. But then when we put this on, they fit together really well. And yeah, that is it for the bass. After that, we have these FM stabs, which sound like this. So what these are is I have these 3 layers here of these different FM bass stabs. They're all just playing C since, you know, that's the key that we're in. Nothing too crazy. But as you can see, these are all made in a very similar way to how I made that first bass layer that I showed you above, actually. So it's all FM. You can see, like, here's the first one. It's just 3 sine waves at different octaves with sort of plucky envelopes, a little bit of drum bass, a little bit of a high pass. Same deal with the second one, you know, just again, really simple, just some FM sine waves. Really nothing too crazy here. Just putting them all at different octaves is how you get these different kinds of sounds. This second one's going into a low pass with an envelope on it, a little bit of drum bass, a little bit of high pass. And then the last one is pretty much the same. Where this one is just, yeah, 3 sine waves here, you can see, all at different octaves, and then going into a bandpass filter with an envelope. So here's without the bandpass. And then with it, so that's what really gives it that nice little sort of plucky, kind of bitey sound. And yeah, and then this one is also going into a really short reverb like this. You can see a little bit of drum bass, a little bit of a high pass. And then on the group of these, I have a bit of processing as well. So you can see, we just have a little bit of 16th note echo. Just giving it that, like if I turn this off, you can hear. It's a lot more dry. So this really helps to glue these together. And then a bit of saturation just to kind of put them all together mixed-wise. And I also want to say about these, because these are kind of like going with what the next 2 layers are going to be as well. With these, it's really just about adding that sort of like extra background stuff to the track. Like, if I turn these all off, listen to how this track sounds. So you can hear, like, it's got the main elements, but it's not really that exciting because you don't have anything happening all around it. But then when I bring all these things in, like, you can hear how much more this adds to the track. And that's the purpose of all these little layers, like these stabs, and then these next 2 things I'm going to show you is like, you know, when you make these kind of tracks where it's just this super simple driving rhythm, you can't have just that. Like, you need to have something happening around it that is not going to take away too much from the main stuff, but it's just kind of like, you know, your little things that are going to add a lot of interest and make the track just a little bit more exciting. So that's the idea behind these, and that's also like why I like doing these videos this way, guys. It's like, I want to show you, it's not just about knowing how to make a bass or how to make a rumble kick or whatever it may be, but it's about knowing how many things to put in the track and how to kind of set the track up in a way where it's not going to get boring, but it's also not going to be too much. So yeah, after that we have this little reese bass thing, which sounds like this. So same deal with this one, it's just playing C, and this is just meant to be, again, like one of those little extra sounds that comes in like that. So with this one, what it is it's just 2 saw waves inside of analog here. Very simple sort of reese bass sound. Got them very detuned. And then they're going into a high pass filter, which has a bit of automation. That's how we get that kind of thing there. Yeah, you can see we just literally are automating the frequency. Got the resonance there. We get the amp envelope set like this. And then we have a bit of vibrato and a little bit of unison. Here's without the unison. And then with this, you can hear, that's what really gives it the reese sort of like big sound. Then we just have a little bit of reverb, a little bit of drum bass to fatten the sound up. Here's without that. And then with it, so you can hear why we do this. And then finally, we just have a compressor side chaining into the kick, and then a high pass filter. And then the last sort of like extra background sound that we have down here is the lead, which sounds like this. So the MIDI here is really simple. It's literally just C. We're in the key of C minor, so I have C, another C up here, G, which is just the 5th of C, and then this G sharp, which is just 1 note out from the 5th. And it just gives you this like very rhythmic sort of thing at every 4 bars. The one over here is the same thing. Just C, G sharp, and C. And then we just have a low C down here. For that woo woo woo. But yeah, this is nice because I feel like it's one thing that isn't just like a little sort of rhythmic synth. It adds something melodic in there and in between all of those little rhythmic synths. So for the sound on this one, it's made using analog. The way this is made is it's 2 saw waves going into a bandpass filter and a formant filter. So what we've got here is I have this routing setting, this one here in the quick routing. And so basically what's happening is these two are kind of playing off of each other. And then you can see what's happening here is on both the bandpass and on the formant filter, I have what's called key tracking. So key tracking is basically just, if you think of it like this, it's like when you play a low note on the keyboard. You hear a low note when you play a high note on the keyboard. Sorry if that was really loud. It plays a high note. This is exactly the same thing, but with the filter frequency. So basically when we play like this low note here, the filter is going to be pretty closed. But then as we walk up like that, you can hear the filters open up. So it's just a really cool way to give this like a very interesting sort of moving texture. Where it's not just going to be like, you know, that same lead that sounds exactly the same no matter where you play it. It's got something that's very dynamic and kind of changing and growing with the track. And yeah, then after that we've got the amp envelopes set like this, and then we have a little bit of vibrato, and that's pretty much it for inside the synth. After that we have this EQ8, which is really just sort of like shaping the sound into a more like sharp and less sort of mid-rangey sound. Here's without this. And then with it. So you can hear like, this is just cutting out some of that nasty mid-range and then boosting the highs to make it a little bit sharper. After that we have this echo just doing 8th notes. You know, just gives it space but keeps it with that rhythm. You know, if we had like a 16th note echo, it would kind of throw off that. So this just kind of goes with that. Then we just have a bit of drum bus to fatten the sound up, a bit of a high pass filter, and then a compressor side chaining it to the kick. And that is it for the lead. The next thing that we have here is the kick, which sounds like this. So yeah, you can hear just very simple, fat techno kick sample, just one of my own kicks that I've taken in here. And then you can see we just have it going through a bit of saturation and a bit of drum bus. Here's with nothing. And then just a saturator. And then with the drum bus. You can hear how these kind of like stack up to make this kick sound really fat. And yeah, again, like, since we're not doing a rumble kick here, the main thing is just making sure that the kick and bass fit together really nicely like this. And getting the kick to be really fat to where it can stand on its own in the mix. After that we have the hi-hats, which sound like this. So I'll just go through these and I'll show you the group processing. The first one is this one, just sort of the main hi-hat playing on the upbeats. The main thing to keep in mind with this one is just like the type of sound you choose. It's just like this very sharp, hard-hitting hi-hat like this. And then there's also this little reverb automation here. So this is something I heard in a few of Metodi's tracks, and it's a good thing to do in techno in general. Kind of give your hi-hats like some more interest. I've done this in a few tracks. I've heard this in a bunch of other producers and DJs tracks as well. But basically what we do is we just have this reverb, and you just automate the dry wet to go up like that. And it just happens basically like in the middle here. And yeah, it's really simple, but you can hear that in the track, you know, it gives it something really cool. Cause you get that kind of after the hi-hat, and it kind of brings the hi-hat to life. And yeah, then after that we have the synth hi-hat, which sounds like this. So the way this one is made is actually using white noise. What we have here is just some white noise inside of operator, and then you put it into a bandpass filter. And you get more of a hi-hat type of sound. And then finally, I just put this auto pan on it, which is making it so it's going like back and forth from ear to ear. I've heard this in a lot of Metodi's tracks, and again, like a lot of techno producers like this technique, because you can hear it really gives a lot of life to that hi-hat. Like if I turn this off, and then turn it on, back and forth like that, I think is really making a big difference. And it also just helps to kind of open up the track, because now there's more space in the middle for these sort of main elements. And this one's kind of off in its own world now. So yeah, and then on the group of hi-hats, I just have a little bit of drum bus and a little bit of EQ. So here's without these. And then the drum bus, you can hear, makes it really fat. And this high pass filter is just cutting out the low end. So yeah, really simple, but just kind of like essential stuff for really bringing these hi-hats into the track. And yeah, and then the last thing that we have here is the clap, which sounds like this. So yeah, this one you can hear, it's just a nice punchy clap on the 2 and 4. Bit of drum bus on it to make it hit more. The main thing here is just choosing a sample like this that's going to sit well with the kick. And still give you that crack without taking up like too much space in the mix. Yeah, so that is it for the clap, and that is also going to be it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video, as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get the full project file and samples and MIDI and presets, all of that stuff from this video, right at the top of the description for just $5. If you guys want to support me, I don't make a whole lot of money off of these videos, but it's a great way to keep me going, so I can keep putting food on the table and keep making you guys these awesome videos every day. And yeah, so that's me for this one, guys. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you tomorrow with another video.